Welcome to the Live the Call podcast, where I speak with guests living and working their soul's purpose. I'm Pamela Downes, founder of Spirit Calling and trans-channeler of the Great Council of Light. Every episode, our guests share their awakening story, and together we learn how they came to live their spirit's call. Join me in tales of self-discovery, enlightenment, and transformation to amplify your healing journey. Welcome to Live the Call. I'm your host, Pamela Downes, and today we're excited to have Janine Shapiro with us. Janine's journey began as a registered nurse, midwife, and psychiatric nurse, but personal health challenges led her to explore holistic healing and discover her psychic abilities. Now, as a personal leadership coach and healer, she empowers individuals, guiding them to release fears, overcome limiting beliefs, and confidently moving towards a more fulfilling life. And she's also my friend and an aligned professional inside of the Spirit Calling community. And we love her and cherish her. And we're so happy that you are here today with us, Janine. Thank you and welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. I am so delighted to be here. And thank you for all your wonderful support. When my throat went, I went, am I delighted to be here? And I went, yes, I am delighted to be here. That is the truth.
I'm glad because I'm delighted that you're here. It's amazing. So what Spirit Calling is, why Spirit Calling was created. Your energy infuses beautiful light into our community, and you serve as other people who are light workers and energy workers, as an inspiration to people, because you've heard, what do we say? We say that when your spirit's calling, you have to hear it a little bit, then you have to listen to what it's saying, and then you put that into action and you live it and you see the results of living with it. And oftentimes that starts with a spiritual awakening. It starts with an event, it starts with an experience, it starts with something that kind of breaks that seal and allows you to see something differently. So I would love to hear your story, and so others can be inspired by you. So can you remember back when you started your journey, your spiritual awakening journey?
Oh, that's a very long time ago. What started happening for me was I grew up in a very staunch Catholic family. And yet when I was at a convent, and I always would have a knowingness about things. I would just understand things. I would just have a sense of things, and then I would discard it because, after all, that's not what one does, is it? And it's really been quite a journey, especially when I look back. I was very sensitive to emotions, to people, to the energy, and I was absolutely unaware of what it was. I also grew up in a home with a mom who, with hindsight, she was also a healer, and she was very definitely extremely intuitive, and yet she was absolutely unaware of it. It was only when I'd left home that when she died, I found books that she'd been looking at, like Jill Edwards, that sort of thing. So she knew there was something more. She just was unaware, because in those days we only had books and bookshops. We had no internet, we had no access. And in our community, I mean, I didn't know people who practiced energy work or intuition work or anything like that when I was growing up. And in fact, the country I grew up in, if you weren't a very staunch in a religion and you showed signs of being otherwise, there were legal implications to it.
Wow.
So let's just leave all of that behind and let's move forward. Then I went nursing. And well, actually, it's quite interesting because when I was 13, I started passing out and nobody knew what it was. My mom worked out that it was something called hypoglycemia or low blood sugar. With hindsight, it was actually the beginning of the awakening, a deeper awakening of my intuition, that I was taking on what was going around me, and I was unaware of what to do with it. So people, if you are having unusual physical symptoms, guess what? They may be energetic ones.
Yes.
And it's best to speak to someone like Pamela or myself and explore it. So what actually then happened was when I got married, I have a wonderful husband. We will have been married 40 years this year. We would bump up against each other. And it was only, as I say, with looking back, that I realized we were both seeking alignment with us within ourselves. We were just unaware of it. And so we would push back against each other. Something that was very interesting was my son would be able to walk into the house and he wouldn't even see me, and he would say, "Hey, Mom, what's going on?" And I may have had a disturbing call, or like I worked in wellness, I also worked with my husband in several other businesses. And if I was upset or just tired, he would know without looking at me, without even seeing me. Now, I'm going to share something with you that has a very strong bearing for people with children and working with people. My son hates his birthday because what would happen at each birthday is he would suddenly have an incredible meltdown, and he would just have this horrendous temper tantrum. I'll explain to you what I discovered now, but first of all, I understand there was overwhelm, that it was his intuitive abilities. What we then came to understand many, many, many years later, after I had come to understand what my giftings are, what energy work is, what being a light worker is about, what being a healer and being psychic's about, is the one day he was up in there were 3 steps down into my office. I was in my office and he was upstairs near the entrance. Next thing, we were having a loud disagreement. Let's put it politely.
It sounds so pretty coming from your mouth. A large disagreement.
And all of a sudden, I realized I was pushing my energy through him. So I went, "Alex," and simultaneously, because he was like really throwing his toys out the cot, he said, "This isn't my feeling. This isn't
Wow.
me." And we both at the same moment realized I'd been having a very rough day. I hadn't made time to meditate and journal yet. And I pushed my frustration and energy through him. Now think about it. When you're doing a young child's birthday party, you're an introvert. You like things organized and you dislike having so many people around you, and you're absolutely unaware of it. I was projecting my frustration, my lack of control through my child, and he was having the temper tantrum.
Wow.
This for me was a very big awakening, that how many times are we taking on other people's energies and we having the temper tantrum rather than them?
That's
Just
true. All the
have you
time.
had that
Yeah,
experience?
of course. Yeah, being the super empath, I do. I sponge it, and I did that all the time, and with certain people, it makes so much sense. Absolutely.
Yeah. And with, I went and I apologized to him, but you can't take that years of conditioning away from him. What I have found, people say you're unable to go back and change the past. And I disagree, because I've gone back and each situation apologized, just cuddled him in my imagination. And it has made a really huge difference in our relationship. So anyway, without further ado, how did I begin my journey? I was living my husband's dream, linked to the fact that I'm a healer. My husband loves nutrition. He loves helping people feel better. He studied nutrition. He's an optometrist. And I was living his dream of having a wellness practice. I was unaware of it. And because it was out of alignment with me, I had things like what happened with my son, because I was working out of alignment with my gifting, my calling, and I was working to fulfill his, and it was nowhere near where I should be, could be, or ought to be. And as the journey progressed, it was very interesting to see how things unfolded. The reason I stayed doing it so long, besides people pleasing, is that I would touch people and say, "Oh, I feel better." Or I would just automatically know what was going on emotionally or deep inside that person, especially when it came to much younger trauma areas. The challenge was I was unaware of what to do with it. And so I would say to the person, "Oh, this and this happened when you were a child, and this is the reason this and this is happening." Bluntness, people, is very often inadvisable.
Mm.
People require going down layers to the trauma rather than just let's address it immediately, bring it out into the open and give a solution. Most people can't get there that fast. And it led to some very interesting situations. So yes, people, I have moved on since then, and I am a little bit more discerning and discreet. Also, I know what my abilities are. So what happened was my dad died. And even before my dad died, my daughter had started a journey with yoga, with looking to find herself. She'd been really ill. And this is another interesting point. Because I worked with people that were unwell and I was giving the majority of my time to them, my daughter, almost as if she took on the being unwell, because and it's absolutely unconscious, people, because that's how one gets mommy's attention.
Mm-hmm.
My son just withdrew because that's who he was. My
Mm-hmm.
daughter was her. And what was so interesting, when I started having people at home and working with them at home, Jessica would take on their pain as well as I could feel it in my body. But then she'd say, Mommy, you were working with this person and this, and this, and this. And I was like,
Wow,
oh, wow,
it's
there's more
incredible.
to this. Yeah, that meets the eye. So the reason I'm telling you this is that even though we're unaware, we still can be using our giftings. We can be using what we're meant to be doing. The challenge is because we're using it unconsciously, we can be creating damage and chaos for the people we're working with and the people around us. So then I learned how to work with the energy better as I developed after my dad died. And I'll tell you the story of that now. And my daughter also learned how to work with energy from that perspective. Then, due to various things, she was like, don't show me, don't talk to me, don't want to know you. No, she wanted to know about it, just not what was going on. But anyway, that's her story to tell. And she has an amazing story. And just to let you know, we found a glycan technology that helped her from the physical to get well so that she could begin hearing that whisper and spirit
Wow,
calling. And
wow.
we've almost like had a simultaneous journey. Hers has been very different. And like I said, it's her journey. So when my dad died, I realized that if something happened to my husband or to our marriage, I would be unable to support myself with my wellness clinic. It was more of a hobby than it was a business.
Mm-hmm.
People, avoid the hobby and make it a business. You can do hobbies in hobby time.
I love your energy. I just love your energy. It's so fun, but it's true.
Have you still seen that in your life? With
Oh yeah, I mean, but I might not be the right person to ask that because I like to be very busy and I have to have many interests with my creativity. So, but I made a little sewing business and I did a little this, I did a little of that, and some the serial entrepreneur in me takes it the other direction. But I know people that have, yes, for sure.
So you actually are a good person to prove the point that when you
Okay.
focus and you're in alignment, things work with ease. I was out of alignment, so there was
Mm,
a lot of pushing and a lot of stressing and a lot of I'm unavailable for the cash flow because I feel it is something I'm unavailable to be doing, you
mhm,
see. So you are actually are a beautiful example.
mhm.
So anyway, with my dad's passing, I went online. And when I was there, I started meeting people. The best was there was a wonderful young lady from Lima, Peru, who said to me, you have to have a tagline. And I said, what are you talking about?
What is the tagline?
What is a tagline? And thus began my journey. And she really helped me tremendously. And through her, I met other people and I joined groups. And it was nearly 10 years ago, 11 years ago. So, it's been a journey, it's been a progress. And even before that, I worked with small business. I've done a lot of studying. And yet, it was only when I went online and I started meeting people who themselves were just beginning to discover. This young lady was also just beginning to discover where she was going with energy. And she introduced me to other people who were starting their journeys, that I went, oh, you mean not everybody can hear what other people are thinking? Oh my goodness, you mean that feeling in my body that feels strange can belong to somebody else rather than myself? And if I can reassure people, listen to yourself. My husband and my children's favorite chant is, Janine, you told us to do it this way. How come you avoided listening to yourself? So go, and when things come out, it's to learn to trust ourselves. And I feel that has been one of the biggest things, was learning to trust myself as well as discover who self actually is. And spirit is so gently, compassionately, beautifully available to whisper and talk to us through our soul, through our bodies, through other people in so many ways. So anyway, I went and I did a psychic business course. I went and explored Akashic records, soul retrievals, and I discovered I'd always worked with herbs. Herbs would just, I would just know what people required. And I thought everybody could do this. I mean, after all, people, not everybody can do what you can do. Explore your uniqueness. And I found myself very much drawn to earth magic, although I work a lot with angel. I work with energy. I avoid classifying what it is. And yet herbs speak to me, animals speak to me, power animals will come forward. I still remember walking into my kitchen of my home where we moved away from, and there was like this huge elephant by my sink. I mean,
Oh my
come on,
gosh.
practically, how's an elephant going to fit in my kitchen? And it was this head of this elephant. So I was exploring it. What was so beautiful about my journey was I'd started going, now, everybody, you're allowed to laugh here. I went on to Udemy to see if there was anything there. And there I found various courses. A friend of mine said to me, Janine, there's a crystal shop that's just opened. Please come with me. So I have someone with me. Well, she has stayed on her path, and that was part of the opening of my path. And then my daughter said to me that her yoga teacher would be able to do something called a journey with me. Here's the interesting thing. I carried on going to the crystal workshops. My friend never went to another one. It was
You had to
fascinating.
go. Yeah,
I
you had to
had
go
to
with
go.
her.
And I only went because she invited me.
Mhm.
And I'm the sort of person, if I can see somebody's really in need, I will do what I can to help them. I just was unaware that it was actually spirit calling me through her. And it was just so beautiful to experience it. Where was I going with? Oh, so my daughter said to me, Mommy, my teacher can do a journey with you. A journey? What do you mean a journey? She'll do a journey. She did one with me, and I discovered this and I discovered that. And maybe this is why you keep seeing animals that nobody else is seeing. And maybe that's, you can hear the plants talking when nobody else can hear them talking to you. Um, you know, I'd say, oh, did you hear that? Oh, it was fascinating. When you're unaware, you're unaware. And when you
Right.
become aware, it's very, very different. So I went and I took this journey. Sadly, we didn't record it. For some reason, she pushed the recording and nothing happened. It didn't record, not on my phone and not on her recorder. So there's reasons for everything. And
Yes.
I encountered various animals, various things came out. And what really came forward was the emerald. And I then started using the Emerald of Healing without being aware of what I was doing when I worked with people. I'll just pop you in the Emerald of Healing. Can you believe it? It's only 11 years later that I go, oh, you know what? That was a gift to me from the cards. And then various animals came forward. It wasn't tiger. Tiger's coming forward right now. So I'll go and explore that now. It was
Interesting.
tiger. It wasn't tiger. It was panther came forward. A panther came forward and a jaguar came forward. Well, as we know, Mother Jaguar is the west point of the compass for shamanic energy and takes us beyond the path of death and is there to help us with healing. So it was, I knew none of this. So anyway, I went away from that, and this lady had never had such an intense journey with anyone. She was unable to explain to me the various elements that had come forward
Wow.
because she was also quite new at what she was exploring. And I used to jog around an open field, and I still remember I was underneath this avenue of trees, and it was cool. And I was going, so if I have a guide, who are you? And I heard Raphael. And I went, oh, must be because of my Italian heritage. Raphael, well, nice to meet you. What do you do? Oh, and people, I remember I'm walking and I'm striding along and I'm
Hello,
talking.
Raphael.
Raphael, hello, Raphael. How are you doing? Who are you? And so then I went to Mr. Google, Mrs. Google, and Archangel Raphael is the archangel for healing. We all know this. And it was just fascinating how my journey unfolded each step of the way. I'm sad to say I did meet some people along the way that were they I obviously required what they were offering at the time, and their integrity levels were less valuable than they could have been.
No, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
their vibrational energy was lower, and yet I learned what to avoid doing from them rather than learning what to do from them. And I'm
That's
very grateful
interesting.
to them. I'm extremely
Yes.
grateful to them. And I'm extremely grateful to Spirit inside of me for
Mhm.
going, no, 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 we're unavailable for that, Janine.
Yeah.
And it's just, I love words. Pamela, you've
Hmm.
seen from my emails and from when I speak, I love words. Playing with
Yeah.
words for me is just so powerful. And then all of a sudden it came to me, people spell with their words. We spell with our words. What spells am
Mm-hmm.
I creating with my words? And I went, oh my goodness, the reason I drew these people to me, they were mirroring to me that my energy level required quite a bit of attention.
Well, that's, yeah, absolutely. Hmm.
And so that's why everything's part of the journey. And also at the same time, I was drawn. In those days, we didn't have the internet like now. So people used to have webinars, or were they called webinars? I don't know what they were called, but anyway, so that's where I became interested in a modality called access consciousness. I listened to Rika Zimmerman. There was just a whole host of people that came across my path, and I became more and more. And in fact, they had started coming across my path before my dad died. I actually hadn't remembered
Mm.
that until now. And I was like, goodness, what is this? And I was becoming more and more curious. So, people, if you are drawn to things, listen, take note, allow that seed to be dropped into your soul and just allow it to germinate through learning to trust that inner voice that says, Janine, go left here. Janine goes left there. And then she understood that there was this humongous pile up on the highway. And the one time when I heard, avoid locking the bang, I'd lock the car and I'd lock the keys in the car.
Oh, oh my goodness. But yes, we weren't
So,
fast enough.
yes, it's those small whispers that we begin with.
Mhm.
Spirit avoids overwhelming us. Spirit leads us, directs us as willing as we are to go. And it's, for me, it was unfolding the journey.
I find oftentimes when I meet my guests and like I've know you and we've spent and shared lots of time together, but I love hearing your story and all these unique aspects of it. But there's just so many similarities that we haven't even discussed yet, like our father dying and then getting to a place where we could have a whole conversation in our community everywhere about when you reach a certain point, how the person who helped you get to that point no longer can assist you, and then your vibration is a different space, and what that journey looks like. And it's something that's come up a couple times this week, and it's normal. And it's very, 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 very normal on the path. And you
Yes.
start to get better at learning and hearing the whispers, letting it tell you because you listened, and then it's shifting everything. um,
Yes.
I did not know about your father. And, those are the people that come in to create change. But the thing that's most fascinating to me that I feel like I've taken away from this so far, that's unique and new and I'm learning from, is My youngest daughter, so yours came down. They often say that the spiritual gifts, the healer in the family, or however you want to phrase that, comes down through generations. Your
Mm-hmm.
story's fascinating that you were around it with your mother, then you and both of your children. My youngest came out of my womb screaming, super sensitive to energy, but I never thought about the fact that I was this super empath that could be transferring mine onto her. Janine, that makes my whole mind open up.
Yes.
I
And
never thought about it
even
that
as you
way.
say that, you've
Mm-hmm.
just opened a door for me. My son was extremely energetically tuned in, even from the day he was born.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't thought about it. And it was the weirdest thing. I would know when he was getting ill, and the pediatrician told me, you nursing sisters, all the same, you just want your children to be sick. My son would get sick when I was overwhelmed. As you said that, I went, oh, wow. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, as you said that, it just flashed in front of me. Connect the dots. My daughter,
Interesting.
yeah, very interesting. My daughter actually had, my son stopped breathing from, am I allowed to be a little bit controversial?
Yes. Go ahead.
From vaccinations. So I
Okay.
never finished having vaccinations. And
Mm-hmm.
because he was sleeping right next to me, I felt him stop breathing and I was able to resuscitate him.
Oh my gosh.
My daughter had a total cardiorespiratory arrest because of vaccinations.
Wow.
And it was the freakiest experience in my life because I looked, and I remember I'm a nursing sister. Hello, I've done
Yes.
lots of
Right.
researches. And I looked at this little girl and there was no breath, there was no pulse. And I said to my husband, oh, she's dead. And he looked at me and said, well, do something.
I need to meet this husband.
Oh, he's wonderful. And then, so I resuscitated. We rushed off to the hospital and all the,
Goodness.
well, actually, we didn't go to hospital. That's what's so interesting. She started breathing and I went, I'm sure that was a figment of my imagination.
Uh,
Well, I think she maybe, she just must have caught her breath. It shows you how we can fool ourselves. I feel that also has had an impact on my daughter all the way through her life as well.
uh,
And
uh,
it happened then again in the car a few days later. And we just, I
my
just like
goodness.
shook her and she came back. So even till today, I'm still uncertain if it was an energetic withdrawal or an actual physical cessation,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
whatever it was, it has shaped both of our journeys and
Mm.
it has allowed for so much more to happen. So what I would like to share is, you may be unaware at the time. The important thing is to say, soul, what would you like me to know today? What's my next best step? And I call myself a bodytarian as well, because I help people tap into their bodies, because when they can hear and feel their bodies and begin to experience their bodies, they are more easily able to hear the whisper of their soul, because
Mm-hmm.
they tune into something that's touchable and tangible. And that way we can tune into something that's unprovable
Mm-hmm.
until things evolve and become. So I've had some powerful mentors. I've learned what to do and what not to do from them. And through that, I've learned to trust myself. Even channeling, I would like go and channel the energy of the week. And then I'd hurriedly go and explore what other people were saying. Then I learned, you know what? I am
Trust.
bringing forward my piece of the puzzle for people. The people meant to hear it and use it will do so. And even if it is maybe less than a truth, it is what that person required at that time. And I
Mm-hmm.
will say I was very grateful to understand that I was on point every time. So that there are times that I've been off point, and there's always been a point to me being off point. And
Yes. Yeah.
you know what, really, I dislike that happening, and yet it has taught me to trust myself even more
Yeah.
deeply and to explore better ways of bringing it forward. Because everybody thinks you get this download of a stream of sentences. Sometimes
Clarity.
one word,
Mm-hmm.
it's one word, and you get to go on. Sorry, can you still hear me? My
Yes.
thing saying
Yeah.
We get to go and explore around it, because as we explore around that word, we get to grow our skills. We get to grow our trust in ourselves. And then at each step, they give us more and more information. We pick up more and more information from the collective unconscious. We're able to see more clearly. We build the capacity for it. There are, as we all know, there are people who can physically see the energy. Others of us feel it, sense it, taste it, touch it. And as we work with our physical five senses, we actually get to work with our spiritual five senses. And this was, I loved learning this. Spirit can talk to us through our physical five senses just as much as through our spiritual five senses. And so we will maybe keep seeing a certain crystal on YouTube or Facebook, go and explore it. Or like when I
Mm-hmm.
walked into my kitchen, an elephant was there and it was in my face. And I realized elephant had been trying to get my attention for about 2 weeks, and decided it was worth the energy of being there. Yes, it was a flash, and it was about my work with energy, with the earth energy, with plants, with, I hesitate to use the word shamanic energy, because a lot of people, I think, they misunderstand what shamanism is.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
let me say medicine woman energy, with witch woman in witch energy, the
Mm-hmm.
energy of spelling, the energy of understanding, the energy of working with the earth, with the crystals, with the minerals, with the elementals, and with yourself. Because remember, your body contains water. Your body comes from the earth, and you put stuff from the earth in it. So work with it. It's there. Then we have our spirit. And this has just been, I can talk for hours. Have I answered your question?
You have. I just think you're really giving people a very clear understanding of giving themselves the allowance, the okay to try it all, because
Yes.
that's what you want to do on your path, not to judge it, to witness it, to explore it, to try it, read about it, experience it, talk about it, all of the things, because you're giving yourself the opportunity to have that well-rounded experience to understand what works for them. Because, right, the sentient being that we are can pick up on so many different ways of communication, like you just outlined. And one of those will work better for one person than the other person. And
Yeah.
that's, you only learn by experiencing it. And
And also,
yeah,
sorry to interrupt,
no.
something that I've discovered is when I go and explore something, I will be asked either to use it or to understand it from somebody else's perspective.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's also one of the reasons. Oh, please, may I share this with you quickly?
Yeah,
This is,
of course.
like I mentioned about the words. Oh, Pamela, people murder themselves, and they murder Spirit's voice with their words. Why
Mm-hmm.
can't I do it? So then your unconscious and spirit are going, says, well, they want to see all the reasons they can fail. So let's
Mm-hmm.
just throw it at them. When we rather say, well, what else is possible? What if I could do this? What would it look like? That's how I got my computer to work the other day, and I have no idea what buttons I pushed. My guides were so kind to me. I said, well, guides, what would it look like if this did work? Next thing, my fingers were going, boom, and it worked. All of a sudden, Canva was doing what it was supposed to do. And all I could say was, thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you. Now, some people can see it that they're tapping into a consciousness. Others can say it was guides. I don't care. I asked for help. I got the help, and my
Mm-hmm.
Canva worked, And that's what I'd like to bring. Get curious in an expansive way rather than an expensive way.
Mm, I love
That's,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. When can I ask you a question? I want to look back, because when I introduced you, I talked about that you were a psychiatric nurse.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in your experience of that, were you, how do I say, were you one way in your conscious awareness when you were working in that space, and then a different way later, looking back at that work and saying, I understand it totally differently now?
Absolutely. And I'd like to share this because it shows that Source can use us even when we're unaware.
Yeah.
I was sitting in a group, and the music that was playing, I was like, I recognize this music. How come I recognize this music? And it turned out to be the theme from Out of Africa, which was a book by Isaac Dinesen, I think. And I loved the music from that movie. And even as I was listening to the music, I found myself soaring above the Rift Valley with the green trees. Now, I didn't remember where the music was from. Yes, it was the most profound experience. Now, in this group, there was a young man that, with hindsight, he was incredibly psychic. And he'd started, his mom had passed, and his father was a very high-powered businessman. And this child literally got lost in the cracks. And yet he was incredibly creative and had a huge disconnect with fitting in with his father's world and the loss of his mother. So he turned to alternative substances. He got into a crowd at boarding school, and yes, it's his journey. And this young man was sitting there spouting the biggest load of baloney, and everybody was just chomping it up. Shame and no. And when I look back, this was Source. This was not Janine. I looked at him and I said, all of that is wonderful. I love how you play. And people, you're not supposed to do this. I got severely wrapped over the knuckles for this. I said, that's wonderful. Now tell the truth, because that was the biggest bunch of hogwash I've ever heard in my life. And he looked at me, started laughing, and he said, you are the first person in my life that has seen through not my play acting.
Wow. Oh
And the
my
staff were
goodness.
like this. It was the most powerful thing. It speeded up his recovery exponentially, because he couldn't actually believe that somebody could see through him. I didn't see
Wow.
through him. Still to today, I have no idea how it happened. And that is the reason I'm saying, when you start walking in alignment, I knew I had to do psychiatry. It was a very difficult course to get into, and I didn't stay there because without knowing it, it was too heavy for me. I was unaware of how to protect my energy. I felt a lot of stuff that I was unaware of feeling, and yet I knew I was feeling it. With hindsight, there should have been a lot of saging done there, and it wasn't being
Yes.
done.
Yes. That's what I was thinking while you were saying it. I
Yes.
was thinking, whoa, that's a lot of stuff
Yeah.
flying around. That's,
Yes. It
yeah,
was them.
that's
So
fascinating.
it was just really beautiful. Then when I went and did my coaching certification, and I was aware at this point in time, and I'll tell you about that story. Listen to oneself. It keeps one safe and avoids a whole lot of things. What I would like to say, everybody thinks there's one path, there's one way. Nonsense. There's a myriad of paths. And that is one of the gifts. You can hear I'm quite firm about it. One of the gifts I have is helping people choose the better path. I've always been able to do this. I just do it now with more tact than I used to. And we go explore it more deeply, and we go beyond and say, how would you feel about this? How would you feel? But anyway, when I was doing my coaching certification, the lady said to me, okay, this is your client, this is what we're looking at. And I went straight to the heart of the matter and asked them what their fear is and around that. And I was wrapped over the knuckles and told, you can't be so blunt. How come? How come? Because some people are unaware of where they are and who they are. And it's to ask Spirit, is this for now? Is this for me just to know to help me to help this person? Alternatively, is it for this person to help themselves? And if I can offer anybody a gift, those three questions are the best gift you can ask yourself when working with Spirit. Spirit, soul, and body, is this for me to know to help this person? Is this for now to explore with this person? or alternatively, to help me, is this for me? Is this for now? Or is it for me to help that person to get an understanding of what is the reason you're being given this? And
Mm-hmm.
if there isn't, if the reason is less than forthcoming, just accept that sometimes it's for you to have a knowing of. Where this comes in is I've had several people reach out, Janine, I know this person's going to die. What do I do? They used to call me the sister of death on the ward, and I was unaware of my gifts. I would just look at a person and they would have a mask on them, and I started calling it the mask of death, because I'd say before I went off duty, listen, please get this person's family in, they're going to die. And this was often people that were very well, or
Wow.
they were getting better, and they would laugh at me. Then, like I say,
It
within
was,
24 to 48 hours, that person would be gone. So they started calling me the sister of death. Why am what is the reason
wow.
I'm telling you this? People avoid why. Your why is the reason you do things. Put why in my vocab, put in your vocabulary cupboard. I've got a beautiful vocabulary cupboard with all sorts of velvet lined drawers, and WHY goes in there because most times we use it to our detriment rather than to our expansion.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the reasons, besides a whole lot of tax issues, and I just couldn't cope nursing. One of the biggest gifts I gave myself was understanding the 5 love languages, understanding personality. So people, sometimes practical things as well as spiritual things will help you in your spiritual path. And I would just have a knowing, oh, this person's personality is this person does this. I was unaware of the reason that it was like that. The biggest gift I had was, number one, when I explored my gene keys, and absolutely when I discovered my human design. It helped me understand the reason I work the way I do, and the reason my daughter works the way she does, my son and my husband. And it just made life so much more pleasant, because everybody thinks I'm this ha-ha extrovert. No, it absolutely exhausts me to be with people, and it can take days to recover. I
Mm-hmm.
then learned how to pull energy. So if you just feel it with me, I'm pulling energy through your back, the universal energy of love through your back, through your front, through my front, and through my back. And what that does is it just stabilizes both of our energy. We both feel rejuvenated, and we can carry on with our day. And for me, one of the best experiences when I was able to go to the Chinese New Year in Benoni, which was near where I lived, and there were thousands of people there. And I came away and I didn't spend the next 4 days absolutely on my knees exhausted, because I had learned how to pull the energy, just because it rejuvenates the person, rejuvenates me. And people on Zoom, when I'm on a room, lots of people on Zoom, I will very definitely pull that energy. And the wonderful thing is, my picture's there too. So guess what? I'm actually pulling energy through myself too. And that brings stabilization. Where was I going with this? I told you I could talk for hours.
Well, I love listening to you talk. I just get caught up in your energy, and you have a buoyant happiness that's lovely, inquisitive, and it's a very sweet energy. And what and now I know where I was.
Now I know where I was. Human design. I love the fact
Human
that I'd learned
design.
about human design. One thing I would like to say to everybody, these are guidelines. And thank you for your beautiful words about my energy. I have worked on it. I really have. And especially with the human design, learning to wait for people to invite me rather than blurting information out. And that was it. People, all of these modalities are wonderful to help us understand ourselves. Something I ask my clients and others to do is to avoid giving your power away to it. You are a composite. You can learn, you can grow, you can shift, you can change. I use my human design to understand who I am and how better to create. So rather than using it as an excuse, oh, I can't deal with so many people, I go, well, what's a better way to deal with so many people? Where can I add to the collective consciousness and still fulfill soul's calling for myself? What am I being asked to do with my understanding of my design, my personality, my love languages, who I am, and all of that? So one of the things I'd like to offer everyone is go and explore the treasure in the trigger and the trauma, because that will give you a gifting that just opens your heart so wide to Spirit's calling. It also helps you to understand what people are mirroring to us, where our mirror neurons are working overtime, and where our Spirit is calling in people to help us to develop those treasures, to hear Spirit more deeply through our triggers, through our traumas. I love it when clients say to me, "Oh my goodness, this person has changed so much." No, you changed so they could stop mirroring to you where you're being asked to shift. Or like what I was doing with my son, you are no longer projecting your energy through them. Somebody said to me, "Oh, you know what? This person said this and this to me." And I very quietly, I said, "Did they say it? Or did you say it to yourself in their voice?" Oh,
Wow.
how can you say that? I said, because let's just explore it. That's your underlying fear. So Spirit, actually your Spirit is talking in somebody else's voice so that you can hear Spirit who's asking you to shift, change, and grow and to be expansive rather than energetically expensive.
I think there's so many revelations on this call that someone can watch over and over and over again to make sure that they get the nuggets, because it's absolutely beautiful. I have been experiencing myself being mirrored to me since last weekend
It's rough,
with one
eh?
specific person. Yes. Yes, and now I'm going to have a new perspective because I get to experience that later today.
You know what is so wonderful? Please, please play this game with me quickly.
Okay.
See the person in front of you here next to me,
Mm-hmm.
and please say with me, I set the intention
I set the intention
that the universal energy of pure love
that the universal energy of pure love
flows through their back, through their front, through Pamela's front, and through Pamela's back.
flows through their front, through their back,
Or through their back, they're facing you,
through their back, yep,
through their
through
front,
their front,
through your front.
through my front, and through my back.
Yes. Did you feel your whole body just let go?
Yeah, and I will do that again. I will do that again. I'll visualize it and do that again.
It
It's a
is the,
relief too.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you'll, oh, look, that's my fear. Oh, look, this is what Spirit's asking me to create. Oh, wow, this is my resistance to it. I love switch words. Pamela, switch words are amazing as well. When you think about this person, what's a wonderful thing to do is to go 3, 2, 1, change, and count down, not up.
Okay. Okay.
3, 2, 1, change, and click your fingers. 3, 2, 1, change, and you do it 3 times. Because when we count down, we're expecting to begin something.
Mm-hmm.
Change or shift are switch words that go deep below the conscious, and the word manipulate comes to mind, and it's more of they move the energy.
Yes. Yeah.
They move
Yeah.
the energy. And when we click our fingers, A, it's movement. B, we touching the tips of our fingers. So we're reconnecting with our mind and our body. And we're having a pattern interrupt. So the unconscious goes, okay, maybe they like this person. Maybe that mirror needs to shift, or maybe it's better if it shifts. So that 3, 2, 1 change, 3, 2, 1 change, 3, 2, 1 change is so powerful.
I'm going to use that. I'm going to do it later, and then I'm going to message you and tell you my experience in the portal. For
Awesome. That
sure.
would be
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And
This was,
thank you for putting the beautiful community together. It is so
thank
supportive.
you.
And I just love all the people's inputs and understandings. And I may not always comment because sometimes I'm doing it on the fly, but
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
love.
That's what it's there for. And I think everyone knows that, it's it's a beautiful space that is fluid and it moves, and everyone utilizes it the way that they need to. And I want everyone to know, Janine, how they can find you, how they can reach out to you, where are the places that you live, so that anyone, because this will be posted on everywhere.
Thank you.
If this was really, help them understand themselves, their situations, their words, any of the things that we offered today, maybe they'll be interested in working with you, talking with you. So tell us where we can find you.
Oh, thank you so much. You can find me on Facebook, Janine Kathleen with the K, Shapiro. They can find me anywhere. I'm on LinkedIn, not anywhere. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, I am on Facebook. And my email, hello@janinekathleen.com. You can reach out there. I do offer a free sounding board session because I find very often when we can hear ourselves think, it's quite amazing what happens. And just as a sounding board, just by hearing yourself think, it's a 30-minute free session. And if people would like to have a sounding board session with me, just reach out on hello@janinekathleen.com. And
Yes.
or on LinkedIn. Facebook is the best because I've got Messenger on my phone. LinkedIn, I don't check less regularly, or
Yeah.
on the platform. That would
Yeah.
also be.
Yes, for sure. Absolutely. And I will make sure that I post all of the notes, all of that information in the show notes, so everyone can reach out to you as well. But I just want to thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your incredible insights and your story, your journey with us and our listeners. And make sure everyone to check out Janine's website and check out also, Janine, your podcast too,
Oh,
right?
yes. Yes,
Yeah,
my podcast. You can message me there as well. Spotify sends me messages. And on YouTube. I love my podcast. It's very short. It's normally
I do
10 to
too.
12 minutes.
It's awesome. Yeah,
Done.
so you can get more Janine there too. So thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you, Janine, for being with us today. And thank you to our listeners. And I want everyone to remember that within every moment lies the call to listen to your spirit, answer it, honor it, and always live the call. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time.
Today's episode sparked insights for you on your healing journey. If you're searching for support and connection, you should join our community at spirit-calling.com. Spirit Calling is a like-minded community of spiritual individuals learning, sharing, and growing together every day. No matter what you're experiencing in your journey, you'll find resources and a community to support you along the way. Until next time, keep listening to your internal guidance and stepping into your spirit's call.